under a scorching sun in a small, dusty village called Makosa, deep in the heart of Sierra Leone. She was just 20 years old, skin like smooth caramel, eyes always searching for more than the village had to offer. She had dreams, big ones. To become a nurse, to build her mama a house with running water, to leave behind poverty like an old torn wrapper you finally throw away. But life, life had other plans. Aminata lived with her mother and 3 younger siblings in a crumbling one-room mud house with a leaking roof and a dying lantern that barely made it through the night. Her father had died of malaria when she was just 8. Since then, her mother, Mama Kadiat, had done her best selling vegetables in the market under the hot sun every day, coming back with barely enough to buy rice. Things got worse when Mama fell sick. Real sick. Her hands started shaking, her voice grew weak, and one day she collapsed while boiling cassava. The clinic said it was her heart. They needed money, fast, or she wouldn't make it. That's when he came into the picture. Mr. Lamin Karoma, 70 years old, rich, powerful. His clothes always clean and sharp, like he never sweated. He owned 3 houses in the village, a block of stores in Bowtown, and everyone knew he had a way of making things happen. He had buried 2 wives, no children. People whispered, some said he was cursed, others just said he was unlucky with love. He came to visit one evening with his driver. Aminata was sitting outside, braiding her sister's hair. He cleared his throat. Good evening. His voice was deep, slow, deliberate. Aminata stood up and greeted him politely. She had seen him before, of course. Everyone had. But she never imagined he'd be standing in front of her, looking her up and down like she was a treasure chest he just dug up. Mama Kadiata came out, supported by a cane, wearing her faded blue lapa. She recognized the man instantly. Her eyes widened. Ah, Mr. Lamin, this is my daughter, Aminata. That night, Lamin didn't waste time. He came with an offer that shocked everyone. I want to marry your daughter, he said, sipping from a cold bottle of Fanta as if he'd just asked for a plate of rice. Silence. Aminata almost dropped her comb. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Mama's eyes darted back and forth between her sick body, her dying hope, and the man who could save her. I will pay for your treatment. I will take care of your family. Aminata will live like a queen. No more suffering. No more suffering. That sentence hung in the air like thick smoke. Aminata didn't sleep that night. She cried silently, holding her pillow to her face so her siblings wouldn't hear. She thought about her dreams, her life, her youth. She thought about her mama coughing blood into a rag. 2 days later, she agreed. They got married in a small ceremony. People gossiped. Some shook their heads. Others said she was smart. A girl with no money just married a man with 3 houses. Who's the real fool? But that first night in Lamin's mansion, Aminata sat alone in a king-size bed that felt like a coffin. The silence was heavy. She stared at the ceiling fan as it spun slowly, like it was judging her. She whispered to herself, God, please let this be worth it. And so the marriage began. At first, everything seemed fine. Lamin was kind, too kind. He brought her clothes, perfumes, jewelry. He cooked for her sometimes. He said strange things like, I've waited a long time for someone like you. But he also had rules. No phone calls after 8 p.m., no going out alone, no opening the blue room at the end of the hallway. That room stayed locked, always. He didn't explain why, and Aminata didn't ask, yet. Months turned into years. She got used to the quiet, used to the empty house, the huge dining table always set for 2, but only used by 1. Lamin grew older, slower, more distant. 10 years passed, and then everything changed. It started with a letter. A plain brown envelope slipped under her door one morning. No name, no address. Just 5 words written in shaky ink. He is not who you think. Aminata's hands shook as she held the letter, her breath caught in her chest. What did it mean? She stared at the locked blue room at the end of the hall. She had never touched that door. Until now. The more you ignore a locked door, the louder it knocks. Aminata stood frozen in the hallway, her eyes fixed on the blue door, the one she was told never to open. The note still trembled in her hands. He is not who you think. She read it again. Her heartbeat was loud in her ears. Who sent this? What did they mean? What was behind that door? She had lived in that mansion for 10 whole years. 10 birthdays, 10 lonely anniversaries, 10 long years of carefully folding her thoughts like bedsheets, neat, quiet, hidden. But now, something had shifted. That letter had planted a seed in her mind, and it was growing fast. And with every breath she took, it whispered the same question. Who is Lamin Karoma? Really? She tucked the note under her pillow, glanced over her shoulder, and tiptoed towards the blue door. Her bare feet made soft taps on the tiled floor. The doorknob was ice cold. She tried to twist it. Locked. Of course. She sighed. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just an old room with nothing but dust and boxes. But deep down, something didn't feel right. That night at dinner, Lamin acted normal. Too normal. He was chewing slowly, like always, wearing his gold-rimmed glasses, speaking in that calm, deep voice of his. Your mother's medicine arrived today, he said, not looking up from his plate. I made sure the clinic got it on time. Aminata nodded. Thank you, he smiled gently. You've been quiet. Everything okay? She faked a smile. Yes, I'm fine. But inside, her stomach churned. She couldn't stop staring at the blue room. Over the next few days, Aminata pretended everything was normal. But she started watching more closely. She noticed things she had ignored for years, like the way Lamin would always pause at the blue door before going downstairs, or how he never allowed cleaners upstairs, or how there were no photos of him as a young man. No family pictures, just walls and silence. She started searching the house when he was out, drawers, cabinets, suitcases under the bed, but nothing seemed unusual. Then one day, while wiping the bookshelves in his study, her hand brushed against the back panel of the shelf and clicked. She froze. The wooden board shifted slightly. Her heart jumped. She pulled it gently. Behind it was a tiny metal box covered in dust. She opened it. Inside was a small, rusted key. Her hands shook as she stared at it, her throat dry. No way. Could this be the key to the blue door? That night, she barely slept. She waited until Lamin was snoring softly beside her. She moved slowly, carefully, like a cat in the dark. She reached the hallway, holding the key tightly in her palm. Click. The key fit. The door creaked open with a slow, painful groan. She stepped inside. The room was dark and cold. She reached for the light switch. Click. Her breath caught. What she saw would change her life forever. Photos. Old, faded photos covered the walls, hundreds of them, all of the same woman, a woman who looked exactly like Aminata. Same skin tone, same sharp cheekbones, same mole above the lip, same everything. Aminata gasped. What the hell? She moved closer. Some photos were black and white, some in color, some were clearly from decades ago. But the woman looked young in every photo, the same age as Aminata. Then she saw something that made her legs go weak. A wedding picture. Lamin, standing next to that woman in a white dress. She dropped the frame. It shattered on the floor. No, 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 she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. She stumbled backward and tripped over a wooden chest near the wall. It creaked open slightly. She crawled to it, opened it fully. Inside were letters, dozens of letters, all handwritten, all addressed to Lamin Karoma, and they were signed. Your love, Amina, her full name. The handwriting was hers, but she had never written them. She grabbed a random letter. The paper was old, the ink faded. I miss you already. I hope when I come back, you'll finally ask me to stay forever. I don't want to run away this time. She kept reading. Another one. It's me. I've come back. I'm just in a different body now. Can you see me? Can you still love me? She dropped the letter, her whole body trembling. It didn't make sense. None of it did. She turned around, her eyes wide, her mouth dry, and screamed. Lamin was standing at the door. Ah, he said softly. So, you found it. His voice wasn't angry. It was sad. Aminata backed up. What is this? Who is she? Why do these letters look like I wrote them? He sighed and walked in slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. You want the truth? He said. Then sit down. Aminata didn't move. She was shaking all over. Tell me. He sat on the edge of the chest and took a deep breath. Her name was Amina. She was the only woman I ever truly loved. She died 42 years ago. Aminata felt her knees go weak. Then why? Why do I look like her? He looked straight at her. Because you are her. Silence. The room felt like it had stopped breathing. Aminata's lips moved, but no words came out. What did you say? She whispered. Lamin reached out and touched her hand gently. I know it sounds crazy, but when I saw you, that first day outside your house, I knew. It was her eyes, her voice, even the scar on your wrist, just like hers. Aminata yanked her hand back. You're insane, he smiled weakly. Maybe, or maybe love just doesn't follow rules. She turned and ran out of the room, down the stairs, into the kitchen, gasping for air, her mind spinning. What kind of man had she married? What was real and what wasn't? She needed help. But Lamon had taken her phone years ago, and nobody ever visited. She was alone, and now she was trapped. Because somehow the door had locked behind her. Sometimes the prison isn't made of walls. It's made of secrets. Aminata sat on the cold kitchen floor, her back pressed against the cabinet. Her knees were drawn to her chest, and her breathing was shallow, fast, and panicked. She kept hearing his words in her head. You are her. No, no, no. This can't be real. This is not happening. The house was too quiet. Even the sound of the old ceiling fan above seemed to fade. The silence didn't comfort her. It suffocated her. She had lived in that house for 10 years. She had known this man, served him, cooked for him, bathed beside him. She thought he married her out of pity, maybe even attraction. But now it felt like she was part of something much darker, something she didn't understand. Suddenly, footsteps. She scrambled up. Lamon was walking slowly down the stairs, his left hand on the railing, his right carrying a photo frame. You need to see this, he said calmly, like they were about to discuss the weather. Aminata stepped back, her hand reaching for a kitchen knife without even thinking. Don't come close to me. He paused. Please, just look. He placed the frame on the table and stepped away. Aminata looked. It was a hospital photo, clearly old, the edges yellowing. The date printed in the corner read 1983. There was a woman in the bed, young, smiling, weak, holding a newborn. The woman looked exactly like her. The baby looked nothing like Lamon. Aminata squinted. Is that? Lamon nodded. That was the last day I saw her. She gave birth to a baby girl and died a few hours later. His voice cracked. She named the child Aminata, after her grandmother. The nurse told me she cried all night. Her last words were, "Tell him I'll find my way back." Aminata's lips trembled. What are you saying? He sat down slowly. His body was older now, weaker, the lines on his face deeper. I don't know how, he whispered, but the way you speak, the way you laugh, even your favorite food, okra soup with dry fish and hot pepper, it's all the same. And then the handwriting, the letters, the dreams you've told me about, dreams of things you couldn't possibly know. Aminata shook her head violently. No, you're trying to control me, manipulate me. This is sick. She turned to run, but the main door wouldn't open. Locked. Let me out. She screamed. She banged the door, kicked it, pushed with all her strength. Let me out. I locked it for your safety, Lamon said behind her. You're not ready to leave yet. She spun around. I'm not a prisoner. He raised his hand slowly. I didn't mean it like that. I'm scared. Scared you'll leave. Scared I'll lose you. Again, she saw something break in his face. Real fear. Real pain. But it didn't matter. Not to her. Not now. The man she married was a stranger. A liar. A danger. And now she needed to survive him. That night, she didn't eat. She stayed locked in the guest room. Sat on the edge of the bed, holding the kitchen knife close to her chest. She didn't sleep. Morning came. She waited until she heard Lamon's usual routine, his soft slippers shuffling across the hallway, his old record player spinning some slow jazz. Then she crept to the office. The study. She pulled out the old metal box again. This time, she searched deeper. At the bottom, wrapped in a velvet cloth, was a small, dusty USB drive and a note. If anything happens to me, give this to Dr. Bala. He'll know what to do. Dr. Bala? She didn't know the name, but she had hope now, a clue. She slipped the drive into her bra, quickly closed the box, and returned to her room before Lamon could notice. Later that afternoon, she made tea. As she handed it to Lamon, she looked him dead in the eyes and asked softly, "Who is Dr. Bala?" His hand trembled. Just a little. Then, like a curtain falling across his face, he smiled. That's just an old friend. You haven't spoken to him in years? No. But now she knew. He was hiding something even deeper. The USB was a key, and she had it. That night, she made her move. She waited until Lamon fell asleep, his breathing loud, uneven. She took his car keys from his drawer. She tiptoed outside, unlocked the gate, opened the garage. For the first time in 10 years, she opened the car door herself, sat behind the wheel. Her hands trembled as she placed the key in the ignition. Breathe, Aminata. Just breathe. She didn't know where to find Dr. Bala, but she knew who would. Her childhood friend, Fatmata, in Bowtown. The one she lost touch with after the wedding. The one who was always curious, always asking questions. She drove into the night. The road was quiet. the moon high and full. She reached Bowtown by dawn, parked near the market, and started asking questions. Do you know Fatmata Silla? People pointed. Within an hour, she found her. Tears streamed down Fatmata's face when she saw her. Aminata, is this really you? They hugged for so long it felt like time stopped. Help me, Aminata whispered. I think I married a man who's hiding something very dark, and I need to know what it is. Fatmata pulled her inside, locked the door, and said, Then let's find out. Together. When the truth hides in shadows, only courage can drag it into the light. Fatmata stared at the USB drive resting in her palm. The small, dusty device felt heavier than it looked, as if it carried the weight of years of memories of something dangerous. You found this in his house? She asked. Aminata nodded slowly. It was hidden inside a secret box with old letters with my name, my handwriting, but I never wrote them. Fatmata shook her head, eyes wide. Ami, this is serious. This man could be, I don't even know, he could be capable of anything. Aminata breathed in deeply, her voice trembling. I don't even know who I am anymore, Fatu. Everything feels like a lie. He said I reminded him of someone named Amina, his dead wife. And then he said I am her. Fatmata gasped. What? I don't know what he believes, but he locked me in that house for 10 years, Fatu. 10. And all this time I thought he was just helping me, saving me from poverty. But now I think he was just waiting, watching for her to come back. Silence fell between them. The fan above creaked softly. A goat bleated somewhere outside. The morning sun slipped through the curtains like a shy visitor. Fatmata got up and pulled out an old laptop. Let's see what's on this drive. They plugged it in. A small folder opened. It had only one file, a video file. No label, no date. Fatmata clicked play. The screen flickered, then showed a hospital room. A man's voice spoke softly behind the camera. It was Lamin. Patient is stable but remains under psychological observation. She still claims to have memories of a past life. Same name, same handwriting, same phobias. She insists her name is Aminata, but birth records indicate she is Awa Ba, daughter of Mariama Ba, age 17. Fatmata and Aminata froze. Testing will continue. If reincarnation is real, she may be proof. But until I am sure, until her mind is fully synchronized, I must protect her from external triggers. Her memory is fragile. Aminata felt like someone had poured ice water down her back. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Fatmata clutched her arm. Did you hear that? He was experimenting on you. More footage played. Clips of her tied to a hospital bed, screaming. A voice off camera. She keeps asking for her baby. She believes she gave birth in 1983. That's impossible. She was born in 2002. The camera zoomed in on her face, pale, terrified, confused. Aminata turned her face away. Stop it. Please stop it. Fatmata closed the laptop. Her hand shook with rage. This man is sick, she spat. He's been using you like a project, like an experiment. Ami, this wasn't marriage. This was captivity. Aminata nodded slowly, her face wet with silent tears. I have to go to the police. But Fatmata hesitated. Wait, not yet. She walked to the corner of the room, rummaged through a drawer, and pulled out an envelope. You remember my cousin, Dr. Alhaji Bala? He used to work at Freetown Psychiatric Center. Aminata looked up, stunned. Dr. Bala? Fatmata nodded. He's the one Lamin mentioned in his note, right? That's not just some random name. That man treated psychiatric patients, including the ones they wanted to hide. She opened the envelope. Inside were old documents, appointment logs, emails, medical reports. And then a photo. A younger Lamin Karoma standing beside a group of doctors, including one labeled Bala Sorie, lead psychiatrist. Look at this, Fatmata said, pointing at a note scribbled in red ink. Case number 418, patient believes she is a woman from a past life. Dr. Karoma insists she is not delusional, recommends memory synchronization treatment. What the hell is memory synchronization? Fatmata whispered. Aminata shook her head. I don't know, but I think that's what he did to me. They drove straight to Dr. Bala's last known address. The journey was tense, quiet, except for the thudding in Aminata's chest. When they arrived, an old man greeted them at the gate. His eyes were tired, but sharp. I knew you'd come, he said. Fatmata frowned. You're Dr. Bala? He nodded. You must be Aminata. Aminata flinched. How do you know my name? He looked down, then up again. Because I warned him never to go through with it. Shut. I told him it was dangerous. But Lamin, he was obsessed. Obsessed with what? Fatmata asked. Dr. Bala sighed. With bringing her back, his first wife, she died during childbirth. I was there when she passed. She whispered to him, "I'll come back." That single line drove him insane. He continued. He started searching for her, in girls, in women, in dreams, and when he found you, Aminata, he believed she had returned. "So he took me," Aminata whispered, "and erased who I really was." Dr. Bala nodded slowly. He tried to mold you, using old therapy techniques, hypnosis, suggestion, isolation, things no one uses anymore, things illegal now. But he believed that love could conquer memory. Aminata's face was pale. "Can I get my real identity back?" The old doctor's eyes softened. "It will take time, but yes, with help." Aminata turned to Fatmata. "I need justice. I want to expose him." Fatmata smiled through tears. "Then let's start now." They handed the video to the police. By evening, news had already spread. Retired doctor accused of mental torture and illegal experimentation on young wife. Former psychiatrist Lamin Karoma arrested in Freetown mansion. Aminata watched the headlines from a bench near the courthouse. She felt light, empty, free. Fatmata sat beside her. "You did it." Aminata closed her eyes and whispered, "No, we did." But deep inside, one question still haunted her. If her entire past had been rewritten, who was she really before Lamin found her? Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to remember on your own terms. 6 months later, the sky over Bowtown was clear that morning, a soft blue stretching above as birds chirped lazily in the trees. The wind smelled like roasted groundnuts and wet earth after last night's rain. For the first time in a long time, Aminata woke up without panic, clutching her chest. She sat by the window in Fatmata's spare room, watching school children pass by with laughter in their voices and dust on their feet. She pressed a warm cup of lemongrass tea to her lips, breathing in deeply. Freedom still felt strange, but good. Lamin had been arrested and charged with unlawful detainment, psychological abuse, and unethical medical practices. His trial was ongoing in Freetown, and every day the news reported new details. Other young women he had manipulated over the years, experimental journals he'd hidden in private safes. Aminata had testified twice. Her voice shook at first, but by the second time she stood straight, her words clear. And when she finished, the courtroom was silent. Even the judge had bowed his head. Fatmata entered the room now, holding a thick envelope. "Ami, it's here," she said softly. Aminata's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside were birth records, a passport, a school certificate. Name Awaba, mother Mariama Ba, birthplace Kailahun district, date of birth July 4, 2002. There it was, her real name, her real past. Fatmata sat beside her. "We traced your mother. She passed away 2 years ago. But you had an aunt in Kailahun. She's been looking for you ever since you disappeared." Tears welled up in Aminata's eyes. All her life, she had no one. She thought she was alone in this world, that no one was looking for her. But someone had been. "Do you want to meet her?" Fatmata asked gently. Aminata nodded, her throat tight. "Yes, more than anything." The journey to Kailahun took a day. The road was long and dusty, lined with palm trees and the occasional roadside vendor shouting, "Plantain chips, fresh mango, cold water." When they reached the village, the sun was already setting, painting the sky with orange and gold. They stopped in front of a small mud brick house with a tin roof. An old woman sat outside peeling cassava. She looked up. Her eyes locked with Aminata's. Then they widened. She dropped the knife and cassava and stood up slowly. "Awa?" she whispered. Aminata nodded, voice cracking. "Auntie Haja?" The old woman let out a sharp breath and rushed forward, wrapping her arms around her. "My baby, my sister's child, my Awa." They both collapsed to the ground in tears, holding each other like the earth itself would split if they let go. Inside the house, Auntie Haja brought out a small box of memories, photos, letters, a tiny red dress from when Awa was just a child. "I searched for you," she said. "I went to the police, to radio stations, but then I was told you went to the city to work, that you married a rich man, and then silence." Aminata told her everything. The truth, the lies, the pain. Auntie Haja listened, eyes wet but steady. "You are safe now, my child, and you will never be alone again." That night, Aminata slept in a real home with real family, and for the first time in 10 years, her sleep was deep, dreamless, peaceful. 3 months later, Aminata stood in front of a small classroom of young girls in Bowtown. She wore a simple blue dress and carried a stack of notebooks. She smiled at the curious eyes watching her. My name is Awaba, but for a long time I forgot who I was. Someone tried to take my voice, my name, my freedom. But I took it back, and now I want to help you protect yours. The girls clapped. One of them, barely 12, raised her hand. Miss Awa, why didn't you run away sooner? Aminata looked out the window, where the sky was wide and open. Because sometimes you don't even know you're in a cage, she said softly. But once you see the bars, you must find the door, even if it takes 10 years. The room fell silent, then filled with claps. Outside the school, Fatmata waited with 2 cups of coconut ice. You did great, she said, handing one to her. Aminata sipped, smiled. Thanks to you. They walked side by side through the street. Aminata paused, she looked up at the sky and whispered to herself, I'm not her, I'm me. And that's enough. Final scene. Lamin sat alone in a prison cell. Old. Quiet. He looked at an old photo of Amina, his first wife. He whispered, I tried to bring you back. But only silence answered, and slowly he folded the photo and placed it under his pillow. The lights flickered, and the past finally let go. If you love this story, please subscribe for more African stories that touch the heart, twist the mind, and keep you coming back for more. Share your thoughts below. Have you ever experienced a truth that changed everything?